In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Dear audience, I am Dr. Khurram Shehzad from National University of Modern Languages, Islamabad. We are going to make a video on observations. It is our third video so far as data collection tools are concerned. Previously, I have talked about questionnaires, I have talked about interviews, and today we are going to talk about observation sheets. Dear audience, I have taken these ideas from Louis Cohen, Lawrence Mannion, and Keith Morrison's book, Educational Research. In this video, I will be talking about structured observations, the need to practice structured observation, analyzing data from structured observations, critical incidents, naturalistic and participant observations, data analysis for less structured observations, natural and artificial settings for observations, video observations, the use of technology in recording observations, timing and causality with observational data, ethical considerations, reliability and validity in observations. These are some of the concerns of this video. Observations are looking often systematically, noting systematically people, events, behaviors, settings, artifacts, and routines. It is concerned with live data and situations. It is selective in nature and theory driven. There are no neutral observations because you need to have an observation sheet with you so that you should decide that what you intend to observe. Who are the participants? Who are the people you are going to observe them? Mostly in linguistics or applied linguistics, we observe students, we observe teachers, we observe, the events which are going on in schools, colleges, and universities. Because we are dealing with educational research, so we will have to see that how we are going to observe the people. Will it be a participant observation or non-participant observation? Will it be a structured observation or non-structured observation? I have already talked about that questionnaires or interviews, they can be structured as well as non-structured or even semi-structured. So structured ones, they are used in quantitative research. Non-structured ones, they are used in qualitative research, and semi-structured, they are used in mixed method research. So same is the case with observations as well. If your observation sheet is highly structured, it means that you are moving towards quantitative data. If it is non-structured, it means that you are moving towards qualitative data. And if it is semi-structured, it means that you will be using mixed method approach. Observations are on a continuum from highly structured to semi-structured to unstructured. So this is what I have just talked about, that there are three kinds of observations: highly structured, semi-structured, and non-structured observations. Usually the researcher who has got research questions, research objectives in his or her mind, of course, he has got a theoretical framework as well. So you are dealing with writing. In writing, you come across different kinds of theories of writings. So your observation sheet will be developed from the theory of writing that you are making use of in your research. If you are dealing with motivation, so your theory or your observation sheet, it will be coming out of the theory of motivation. So it is, predetermined. You know that what is your conceptual framework. You as a researcher know that what is your theoretical framework, and have you operationally defined your theoretical framework or not? For example, if you are talking about communicative competence or if you are talking about discourse competence, so you will have to define that what are the ingredients of communicative competence, what is linguistic competence, what is socio-linguistic competence, what is pragmatic competence, what is strategic competence, what is discourse competence. So overall, you will have to operationally define these competencies, and you are supposed to make notes for these competencies in the observation sheet. So your observation sheet, it is coming out of the theoretical framework that you have taken. That is why it is said that it is never neutral observation. Observations are coming from the theoretical framework that you have used in your research or you are using in your research. Setting that researchers can observe: the physical setting. So you will have to see if it is a classroom, is it formal classroom, informal classroom, what kind of lighting is there, what kind of environment is there, how the teacher is teaching, how the students they are responding, what kind of communication is going on between the teacher and the student, or how the group work it is performing in the classroom, or how different kinds of pairs they are performing in the classroom. Keeping in mind the research objectives and research questions, your focus, okay, it will be structured. Human setting: the organization of people, the characteristics and makeup of the groups or individuals being observed. For instance, gender, class. Is it a class comprised of 20 students, 25 students, 30 students or more? So you will have to note each and everything down on the observation sheet. And is it single sex class or mixed sex class? Co-education is being observed in the classroom or not? Or if it is a group work, four people are making a group, six people or six students are making a group. So what is the formation of the groups? Interactional setting: how the interaction is taking place. Is it formal, informal, planned, unplanned, verbal, non-verbal? So on the observation sheet, make use of all these categories and then put a tick that you observe in the classroom. The program setting: resources and their organization, how the chairs and desks or the whiteboard or the blackboard, or if there is any other gadget which is being manipulated in the classroom, LED or LCD, how the teacher is manipulating them, how they are organized in the classroom, what is their setting. So take a note of each and everything that you can see in the classroom. Dimensions of observations: structure. So of course, structured observations, they are systematic, and usually the data that you will be collecting through them, it will be quantitative in nature. On the other hand, unstructured observations, it means that there will be place for bigger notes. So you as an observer will be looking at the phenomena, will be looking at the event, activities or acts which are going on in the classroom, and you will be taking notes. So usually they are not structured, they are not systematic. Okay, so again they will have their own pros and cons. So structured observations, it has got its own advantages. Non-structured observation, it has got its own advantages and disadvantages. Overt versus covert observation. So is it that you are telling or you have already told them that you are the observer and you are sitting silently in one corner of the classroom and making notes? So then you are not participating in the classroom, but you are observing them overtly. And some of the researchers, they are the participants as well. They play the role of the teacher, and sometimes they play the role of the student in the classroom. So it means you are participating. Again, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. If you are participating, the teacher may be offended, the students may be disturbed, because the teacher, he or she has got his or her own plan of action, and accordingly the teacher is giving performance in the classroom. So you should not disturb the teacher. So it is better that you are sitting in one corner of the classroom and just observing each and every event which is taking place in the classroom. Participant observation versus non-participant observations. So usually I would recommend that you should go for non-participant observation. But again, it depends on the kind of research question that you have raised in your research. So, depending upon the research questions, so you can participate in the classroom as well. But while you are participating, you should not be giving directions. You should not be manipulating, or you should not be disturbing the teachers or the students. So you should participate in such a way that the whole class is not disturbed. Observation in natural setting versus observation in unnatural artificial setting, like laboratory or contrived situation, a situation which you have created yourself in order to create the data, in order to get the data. Again, all these things will have their own pros and cons. So you as a researcher will have to decide that what kind of observation you are going to make. Will it be structured or non-structured, participant or non-participant, okay? Or will it be a contrived situation or natural situation in which you are collecting the data? So what kind of observation sheet you have made? What are your objectives? What is the agenda of observing the people? All these goals, you have kept them in your mind, and then you have gone to the field from where you are collecting the data. Self-observation versus observation of others. So all these things you should know. Direct with the observer present versus indirect video cameras. So sometimes cameras are used to collect the data. So it means it will be an indirect observation. Again, ethically speaking, you will have to take permission from the people whom you are going to observe. First of all, from the institution or from the department, and then from the teacher or the students whom you are going to observe. So when you are observing them, ethically, you should take permission. And if you are going to make notes, tell them that this is how you will be collecting the data. And if you are going to make use of mobiles or cameras, tell them that this is how you are going to collect the data. Again, you will have to decide that even if it is through cameras, what you are going to record, what you are not going to record, how much of the event you are going to record, and how much of the event you are not going to record. So each and every step that you are going to take to collect the data, you should be sure about it. You should have rationale for collecting the data in this way. You should have your own reasons, and you should be noting down all these things, all these observations in your chapter number 3, that is research methodology. Role of the observer. Complete participation to complete detachment. Complete participant on one continuum. Complete observer on the other continuum. And these two are the best, positions. But in between, you can have participant as observer, observer as participant. The best thing for a researcher, to my knowledge, is complete observer. Because when I was doing my research, I also observed some phenomena. I also observed teachers and students, and I was a complete observer. Sitting silently, having taken permission, noting down each and everything that you can see, okay, in the classroom, and see that what kind of patterns are going to emerge after you have conducted the session of observations with the teachers. So again, you will have to decide, is it only one observation that you are going to make, or is it 2 or 3 observations that you are going to make, or is it 2 or 3 weeks observations that you are going to make? All these things you should know beforehand, that how much you are going to observe and for how long you are going to observe, what you are going to observe and what you are not going to observe, what kind of patterns you will be focusing on, and what kind of things which are not of importance, which are not related to your research, you are not going to observe and you are going to leave. Pre-specified, pre-ordinate, quantitative, time-bound, short-term, structured, participant, highly focused, descriptive, overt, laboratory or contrived setting, direct observation, observing others. These things I have just talked about. On the opposite side, we have got responsive, qualitative, open ended, long term, unstructured, non participant, unfocused, covert, natural setting, indirect observation, observing self and others. Well, dear audience, I will be sharing one observation sheet with you, and it is a semi structured observation sheet that I'm going to share with you. Most of it will be structured, and some part of it will be unstructured. Have a look at this. Writing, essay writing class, observation sheet for English language teachers and students. This I developed for one of my research articles and for my research thesis. So it is about discourse competence. It is about that how we can take notice of the essay writing classroom. It is a semi-structured observation sheet. Institution, teacher, date, agenda of the day, activities planned, group work, writing, thinking activities, revision or exercise. Classroom dynamics, is it formal class, informal class or friendly class? Lesson, objectives of the lesson, year or class strength, how many males are sitting, how many female students are sitting. Key, Y stands for yes, N stands for no, G stands for good, S stands for satisfactory, I stands for improvement required. Beginning and end. Lesson begins punctually, clear explanation of lessons, aims and objectives. Classroom environment. Classroom is neat and organized, adequately quiet environment and conducive to learning, yes or no. Quality of teaching. Satisfactory, improvement required. Teacher has appropriate specialist knowledge in the subject taught, effective preparation and organization of resources, appropriate classroom control, effective management of time, effective individual, group and whole class monitoring, use a range of appropriate strategies and resources. Lesson pace is appropriate and pupil ability, effective use of voice, how the teacher was making use of his or her voice. Demonstrated enthusiasm for the subject, good teacher pupil relationship, teacher behavior when students participated or asked questions. Now, look at the student behavior. Students are attentive and on task. Students demonstrate appropriate level of contribution and enthusiasm. Students demonstrate confidence and independence. Students demonstrate the ability to contemplate their work and self-evaluate. Students' reaction to the day's agenda and topic. Students work alone, students work in pairs, students work in groups. Homework. Homework is assigned and recorded by the student. Teacher activities. Did the teacher model a particular writing strategy? Did the teacher address class as a whole? Did the teacher address a small group? Did the teacher speak with an individual student? Did the teacher present the lesson? And how did the teacher present the lesson? Comments. Summary of observation and other pertinent information. So this question is non-structured, where whatever you have observed, you can talk about it. Observer must consider the focus of the observation, why they are observing, the research questions that the observational data will address, what to include and exclude, how to record the observations, where to observe, what to observe, whom to observe, how many people, events, setting to observe. Well, dear audience, I have just shared one observation sheet with you, and this is how you can take notes if it is a structured observation sheet. Student to student, that how many times they talk to each other, you can tick, and in this way you can count them later on. Student to teacher, teacher to student, task in hand, previous task, future task, non-task. How many students were doing the work and how many students were not doing their work. So this is how you can do this thing. Boss shouts at the employee, employee shouts at the boss. Two different stories. Rating scales, you can make use of warm, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, aloof, stimulating and dull, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, business-like and slipshod. And critical incidents you can also take note of. Well, dear audience, today I have talked about observation sheets. Observation sheets can be used to collect the data. It depends on the research questions that you have raised in your research. Accordingly, you will be developing the observation sheet Will it be structured, non-structured, or semi-structured observation sheet? This you will have to decide beforehand. Once you have developed your observation sheet, you should show it to some of the experts in your field to check its validity and to confirm its reliability. Again, you should do the pilot testing of the observation sheet. And once you have collected the data, if it is a structured observation sheet, data will be in the form of quantitative data. If it is in the form of non-structured observation sheet, data will be a verbal data. And if it is semi-structured observation sheet, then it means that you will be collecting quantitative as well as qualitative data. And some of the ethical considerations you should take care of before entering the field. You should take permission and you should tell your observers that what you are going to observe and how you are going to observe. Thank you very much.